Welcome to this week's episode of Car Stars and Roll Bars. I'm Mike Kinney, your host. Do me a favor, make sure to subscribe, like, and share YouTube and all our social media contacts, and tell all your friends. Each of our episodes, we touch on all these aspects of car culture, and every once in a while, we come across cool museums. Even more once in a while, we find ones that are really cool. Today, we are absolutely thrilled to have with us Ron Evans, the Vault of Scottsdale. He got his first Hot Wheel, I think he was like a year old. He got a ride on a 427 Cobra when he's really young, so let's say he got kind of hooked early in life. We'll be talking about his incredible career throughout the show. But as we get ready to bring him on, you know me, and I love my videos. We found a video that the Vault can introduce itself. Hey, Rick, hit that play button, buddy. I know where I want to hang out when I go to Scottsdale. Ron, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on the show. You got some pretty cool digs there, man. Just saying, how you doing today?
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely correct. I'm looking at my notes here, about 16,000 square feet. And so this has been something you said, I kind of need a place to put some cars, and it kind of got out of control.
It did. I had a smaller building with just my cars, and we sold our healthcare company.
Right.
And it took about 2 weeks to figure out I wasn't wired to retire. So we bought a parking lot, and over 2 years did plans. What was going to be 8,000 square feet became 16. And now we store cars for other people, have my stuff in here, and then we rent it out for private events.
Perfect. We got a few pics shown up, and we had the great video introduction. The pictures really help as well. So we've got a couple of shots of we call the facility, if you will, that people get a sense what this is really like, and we can walk through those. Hey, Rick, go ahead and grab that first round of those pictures. So when you pull up, this is kind of what you see when you roll up to this amazing facility, right, Ron?
Yes.
So how'd you come up with a name?
Well, one, no one in Arizona had the name.
Perfect.
Two, I wanted to imply that we built it to the toughest security standards possible, we did.
Which you did.
And then the rest just kind of evolved from there.
I love it. So we got a couple of interior shots here. Oh, my. Wow.
We have some toys.
Yeah, serious toy. I'm seeing some early Chevy trucks, Ford trucks. There's a roll sitting there. So you have a nice collection of your own. Plus, like you're saying, now you have the capability that people themselves can a place to put their pride and joy.
Yes, we have room for about 60 cars.
Wow.
And within a month or so, we'll be completely full with cars coming in.
Wow. Very, very excellent. And that, to me, that's just such a great shot there. Just get a sense of just the quality of the vault itself. The polished floors, great lighting. We'll be talking about some of your very cool globe collection, some of your neon as well. Just a nice place, right?
Thank you.
You betcha. So we're talking. So you guys, looking at my notes, you got in the medical field. You got married around 1988, and everybody around me, I always talk about marrying my best friend together. I married my best friend. We've been together over 30 years. I have no idea why she puts up with me, sir.
Yep. We're coming up on 35 years. We met in school, spent our entire career working together, and the last 15 owned a company that we sold and exited right before COVID.
Perfect.
And cars have always been my passion, though, from the time I was a little kid, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and that's looking at some of my notes. I think one point early in your life, you wanted to have a '69 Chevelle 396, and your dad kind of told you no.
Yeah, because I would have wrapped it around a
Yeah,
telephone pole.
yeah.
He was right. I still have the '69 Triumph that I bought as my first car in '83.
Really? Wow. Well, I think our
Yep.
producer Rick has a Spitfire he's been wrestling with. So they're probably about the same physical size, kind of.
Yes, I have a GT6 that had the first six-cylinder for Triumph.
Wow. Get out of Dodge. So what's your lovely bride think about this hobby / new job?
Well, she grew up with four brothers, so
Okay.
she's always kind of been a car person. She doesn't take it to the extreme I do, but in fact, sometimes I'll go to sell a car and she'll say, "No, I want you to keep that one."
Oh, cool.
So we don't do anything, whether it's buy, sell, without agreeing on it. Now that wasn't always the case, um, but and I have a few more on that bucket list that
There you
is.
go.
I look at myself as a caretaker of some of these cars.
Perfect. And I love your phrase, you're not wired to retire. I think I need to put that on my business part. I'll give you authors credit, but it's just kind of
Okay.
explains the DNA because I swear the older I get, the more fun I have with this.
Yep. If you're doing what you love, you won't work a day in your life.
You got that right. I think we got some pictures of cars as well. I love the lighting on this, by the way.
That was the new Hennessy Revolution that was unveiled here during Car Week. A year ago, he unveiled the Venom F5 at our location before it went anywhere else. This one went somewhere, I think got unveiled at perhaps Monterey, and then it came here for a show during January Car Week.
Beautiful. This is elegant. It looks like it was built like by Marcel or somebody.
That was built by BMW in the 50s
Really?
as a streamliner to experiment with aerodynamics and as part of a private collection here in Scottsdale.
Wow. Yeah. So now you're right. I can see the whole aerial design, right, for that streamline effect.
Mm-hmm. Back in the 50s when BMW really wasn't doing this kind of thing, it was an experiment. They made 2 or 3 called the BMW Veritas.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
We hosted the Peterson Museum for a dinner, and someone was nice enough to loan us that.
Beautiful.
That is my new build from the ground up, a 4-year build by Weaver Customs in Utah of a 67 Mustang.
Nice. Because I think, were you doing ISCA?
Yes, this was the Salt Lake City Autorama. It won 3 awards.
There you
It's
go.
done World of Wheels Awards, and we'll be going to Hot August Nights in Reno. 1,000 horsepower, naturally aspirated, roast shop chassis. That's Weaver Customs there with my wife and I. 4 years of 5,000 man hours and
Yes, sir.
a lot of custom work on that car.
Yeah, I can relate. I've joked with Rick before. We've got a 47 Dodge. It started out as a 4-door car, and we touched every piece of metal. Mike Curtis cut the wheels, and people go, "What?" And I said, I look for 6 months for the right gauge, gauge cluster for the car. So you truly get obsessed with this. But to me, when they have the passion of the owner and the financial capability, and you find a good builder, it's fun.
Weavers were fantastic. I've owned 3 of their cars, and they were very accommodating. I was up there every 3 months flying from Scottsdale to Salt Lake during the build as we collaborated on the design.
Yeah, and it's got to be just a big rush because as a fellow owner of a radical full customs category, we ended for ISCA. It is kind of cool when you're on stage and you get an award. I mean, it's just kind of a little bit of validation. And to me, it's even more important for the builder, hey, that this is the recognition. Because all my trophy, I gave most of them to my builder. I got to be honest, because they did the work, right?
And it's being featured in the Mustang Hub magazine that just is getting shipped now for the spring issue.
Congratulations.
It may be on the cover in parts of the states. Other parts has got an alternate cover, but it's in the full articles in Mustang Hub magazine.
Yeah, when you can get shot, quote unquote, then you're.
They shot it at SEMA at sunrise,
Nice.
the morning after SEMA, because that's when it debuted. And the builders knew for a month it was going to be in the magazine and kept it from me until I was here in person.
What a pleasant surprise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've got now. Before we go any further, for the viewers to get you now. So Ron's a pretty cool guy. We've been chatting a lot, very laid back. You know, he's not wired to retire. He's got his passion for cars. Check out how the Vault does a grand opening. Hey, Rick, I bet you we got that video laying around there.
Pop a bottle, about to make it rain. Let me give you something to celebrate. Come on. And if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good, good. Oh, I just feel so good, good, good. Oh, I just feel so good, good, good. Oh, I just feel so good.
And so I really appreciate all of you guys coming and supporting us. So would love to give away some free stuff. Do you guys like free stuff?
I just feel so good, good, good. I just feel so good. I just feel so good.
Yes, Ron, you're absolutely correct. Everybody loves free stuff. We'll clarify that. You had a step and shoot there, so I would say your grand opening was pretty much a hit.
It was, and that was December of 21.
Cool.
And we hosted the first Hennessy event less than a month after we opened. Wow. When we only had 2 customers. So we've been blessed to have a lot of support from the public.
Good. And it is a compliment to you and your team when people that have a car that's, it's worth a couple of dollars, they select your Vault to place it at because they know you're going to take care of it right.
I take care of it the way I take care of my own, which is baby them.
You got to. And so my neighbors, they'll come over, we got our Superbird 2.0 in the garage, and I got my stereo on, I'm polishing all that. And they says, you're always doing something to this car. And I said, well, it's my version of golf.
Yep. Exactly. I don't play golf.
Yeah, I don't
have any sports. I love my cars and my grandkids. And
there you go.
We both.
I'm so bad at golf, I call it flogging, which is golf spelled backwards. And so I hang out with my cars, and my buddies will come by with their cars, and the next thing you know, 3 or 4 hours later, Mary go say, "Can we go to dinner now?"
Yep. Yep.
But we got a lot more video. We got some cool pictures coming up for the viewers. But at this point, I always kind of like to segue. And boy, this might be these. I gotta tell you in advance, Ron. I apologize. They may be tough questions, especially for you. But okay, I guess I'll say to date, comma. What is your favorite automotive memory?
By no doubt, riding in 72, I lived in a city of 500 people. My next door neighbor had an original 289 and 427 Cobra. And every Saturday we got rides in those cars. And when there's 3 feet of snow in the winter, he'd open up the garage and start them up. And all the neighborhood kids would run, and we got to sit in and pretend we were driving. So hands down, that's why I have a Cobra today that I've had for 15 years is because of that memory. That's the first automotive memory. I started driving a tractor at 8, driving a grain truck at 10, and I've been on wheels ever since.
Well, for the viewers, Ron and I have been talking. I grew up in southern Iowa, as all the viewers know. I spent a lot of time in northern Missouri. You're absolutely, grain truck, about 10 years old. You had that big steering wheel. And
2.5 ton grain truck across the bridge, the Mississippi. How we did it back then. And
that's because you had to help the farm and just get all the product off the fields and back to the barn. So I think go ahead.
Well, I was going to say my summer vacations after we moved away was still working every summer down on the farm until I was 15. Yeah. So that's just the way I was brought up, and been out in Arizona since high school.
Cool.
Met my wife out here, and all of my kids live out here. So I don't miss the winters or the humidity, but it all.
I've been I think it would be like 90 degrees in southern Iowa, northern Missouri, and like 100% humidity. And you'd sit in the shade and drink the sweet tea, right? And you're still sweating.
Yep. If I miss those seasons, I drive an hour and a half north to Sedona or Preston or Flagstaff and then come back.
You get your fix and say, okay, we're going to go back home now.
That's right.
So think to segue, because usually my next question to date, what's your favorite automobile? I think is it still it, or we got more?
No, I often say the next one, but I have to say one of the cars that I've been chasing since I was 15 is a 65 restored GT350 Shelby.
Really?
The car that started all combining Mustangs and Shelbys. So I just was able to purchase one restored by Colin Comer. That's been in a private collection for 14 years.
Ooh.
I brought it home, went through it, and I put 500 miles on it in a couple months.
Woo. So I would say you're officially a happy camper.
Yes, I am. That and my Ford GT, my 05, I bought after I sold my company. And that was a bucket list car.
Cool.
That was my reward for selling the company. My wife got to pick out a car. And so the Shelby and the GT are two of my favorites.
Well, and the GT by itself, those are just, they're breathtaking sitting still, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're great cars to drive. I've daily driven it a couple weeks at a time in nice weather. And it, other than not much padding in the seats, is a great car to drive.
Well, once again, talk about king as segue with Rod Emmons on here in the Vault of Scottsdale. We have a series of pictures referred to as driven. So let's see if we can pull those up. Now, what is this?
That is a 1952 Curtiss 500.
Really?
Frank Curtiss built race cars for Indy teams back in the 40s and 50s.
Right.
He started to build street cars. They built 20-ish. And then someone came along and built 5 continuations. And then his son, 10 years later, sold 5 or 6. So it's less than 40 built.
Wow.
10 to 15 exist. I recently bought this from a good friend of mine who's owned it for 10 years.
Wow. And we can kind of see you and you look rather happy behind the wheels.
Oh, yeah. It's 1,800 horsepower or 1,800 pounds and 400 horse to the tire.
Oh, dear.
And so it's got plenty of grunt.
Oh, my goodness. So, so that weight to horsepower ratio is rather impressive.
Yep. Old-fashioned magnesium wheels, Hillborn and stack injection.
Wow.
So that's the gated shifter on my 99 550 Maranello Ferrari. It's the first Ferrari I've ever owned. Car has 7,000 miles on it, one owner.
Wow. And every time I see the logo, I'm okay, we're getting ready for an e-ticket ride. I think we have
I've never owned a Ferrari in my life. This is my first one.
Cool. So there's that serious power plant. My goodness. Just, the engines are just a work art to begin with.
They are.
Yeah, before you even fire them up, right?
This was the last of you could only get a manual shifter in these cars. That was the last model before they started offering the automatic.
Wow. And I positively, absolutely, that is my favorite shot, hands down.
I wish that was my car, but that was one over in UK. And when I saw it airborne, that's a legit shot, not photoshopped. He got airborne on that, and I fell in love with that picture.
Oh, yeah, that's just like a real deal, as my granddaddy would say. And
driving it to the limits.
Yeah, and it's just singing, right?
Yep, the way it should be.
Way it should be. So to give you a sense for the viewers, I got to be candid. Since Ron, I've been chalking, I've been doing all this research. It is really difficult to convey how unique the Vault is. It is obviously it's a level facility to store your car. We'll just start there for all the viewers. While you're saying, well, what if I, want to have like a birthday party or an unveiling of a car? Well, I think we've got a couple of shots of that as well to get a sense of some of these events. So this is they could have like a workshop or something there as well,
this was
right, Ron?
Hagerty during Car Week. Hagerty Motorsports did a status of the collector car market at our place during January auction week.
Wow. What a great compliment that would be. That's got to be kind of a bucket list activity to happen at your property as well.
Yep. Great presentation and great car guys.
Oh, absolutely. And so, now that looks like black tie.
It was. That was a James Bond themed party for 50 people for dinner, complete with Sean Connery impersonator, aerialist hanging from the ceiling, a golden gun, man with a golden gun, board with roses sticking out of golden guns. So they went all out for that part.
Wow. I absolutely love it. And then you also known for having pretty good food, just saying.
Yep, we've got some fantastic caterers in Scottsdale.
And so again, for all the viewers, if you're going to be in that area and say, what better place to have an event? Okay, we're going to shift gears. Well, pardon the pun, but you know me, Ron, I got to do it anyway. So you have a business and you're around Scottsdale. I says, okay, we're going to have a meeting. It may go most of the day. Yawn. How can I make sure, A, I can get people there and kind of keep them enthused throughout the day? So at the end of the day, we actually come out with some actions that people can buy into and enhance what we're doing with the company. Otherwise, why have a conference? I figure that's a nice little segue. So, Rick, find that video. Hey, viewers, anybody in the business, check this one out. So, again, to go what I just talked about, if I'm going to have a meeting, I know where I want it to be. I want it to be in your house.
Wow. That was our conference room. We've also had seminars, motivational seminars, real estate seminars in the middle of the day in our main space behind me, where the cars are located, where we just moved out a row of cars, had 150 people, projection screens, and then they could walk around the cars and their brakes. And so we have quite a few of those going on.
Because just what a stroke of genius. Because I would think even if you're not a diehard car guy like us, when you walk in there, you're going to go, yeah. You know,
a lot of people that aren't car people walk in and just love that it's so unique. Yes. I've also have a few hundred die-cast. I've collected some automobile art. Sports memorabilia you saw in the conference room. So there's a little bit of something for everybody.
Wow. And again, it's so much different than your traditional conference room where you have your meeting. And when you take breaks, it's got to kind of keep them in a pretty good mental state.
It does. Right? All of our marketing has been word of mouth or social media, people being at an event, then holding an event, or knowing someone who is familiar. So it's been keeping us busy.
So what's been the feedback from the people that would like, quote unquote, book it for a meeting, or some of the attendees? What have they had to say?
Everyone's loved it. And in fact, several have come back for a second event. So we've been open 14 months now.
Yep.
We've probably held 30 events so far in the last 14 months. So,
Good for you.
And that's without really doing too much marketing. We're just hiring a new event coordinator, and that will be able to handle all that. We've had one in the past, and so we can help coordinate catering, rentals, anything AV, anything they need.
So it's a one-stop shop for them. You guys take care of A to Z. They just show up and have their people there.
Yep, exactly.
Perfect. So we got a few shots, because I always like to touch on people and all that as well. So we got a few pictures of some of the event. So who we got here?
That is Ari Lyondike and Derek Daly, both of which one has won the Indy 500.
Yep.
One raced in Formula One and Grand Prix, and Connor Daly, his son, has won the Indy 500. They were both here for a charity event we had with the Bettenhausen family that raced Indy from the 50s through the 70s. And Merle Bettenhausen, the only brother, is still alive, was here as well to speak.
Wow. Great. Very, very cool. And I love that shot. You kind of, from the oldest to the youngest, right?
Exactly. Got to start them young, start them right.
No, you probably want to put maybe some pinstripe on that, but that's okay.
Yep.
And I've had the pleasure of knowing Barry for many, many years. I'm not surprised that, just what an amazing guy.
Yep, they've moved to Paradise Valley permanently. Have been to several of our events.
Yeah.
Came to our grand opening. Has come to some of our Cars and Coffee we do on a monthly basis.
Beautiful.
Just a fantastic guy, great Christian.
Yes, he is. I'll do the SEMA prayer breakfast every year because we'll shoot
Yep.
SEMA and we get a chance to hang out. I always look, man, let's just sit down and talk. So he and I compare notes every year on what's going on.
That was my first trip to SEMA this last year with the Mustang. I'd not ever been to SEMA.
Oh,
So
dear.
going to the prayer breakfast first was a great start to the weekend.
Absolutely correct. And to me, now that's a nice shot. And I think there's somebody sitting to your left you probably want to thank as well.
So yes, that is my beautiful wife, Pam Evans. This was celebrating her birthday, but I'm not allowed by law to say which birthday.
We understand, sir.
And the gentleman across from us is who owned the Curtis.
Oh,
and is a
really?
great friend of mine. Yep, he owned it for 10 years. His son-in-law, Tony, restored it, and his beautiful wife, Bobby.
Very, very cool. But before we say goodbye, because you've been at this a while, you kind of figured out how to do this. Well, you've definitely figured out how to do it right. So for the viewers, if there's somebody who says, I may not do my day job anymore, and I'm not wired to retire. Just what kind of suggestions would you help them if they want to have their own version of a vault?
Well, it is not for the faint of heart, and there's a bit of a risk involved depending on how much
Yep.
you're willing to spend and how big you want to build it. Keep in mind that you're limited by the number of cars you can put in it for storage,
Good point.
and that's where the events come in from the business perspective.
Perfect.
There's a few things I might do differently if this was built more as my ultimate man cave, and I'll share it with a few hundred of my closest friends. So if I were building it just for storage or just for events, I might do things a little bit differently.
Got
But
it.
all in all, I've enjoyed doing this. It's a passion project for me, and at the same time, want it to be a profitable business.
Exactly. And again, you're sharing just your joy and passion of the cars with everybody who comes by, and someone come in for their meetings and conferences or seminars, and they'll get a chance to see cars that they never would otherwise.
That's true. I've got a replica of the 1938 Alpha 158 that Fangio won his first F1 championship in 59 or 51.
Wow.
There's only 3 left of those in the world. Anstead, that was on Wheeler Dealers, and now part owner of Radford Motors, built that car over COVID, and I was fortunate enough to purchase that car. So that got to go to Laguna Seca and run some laps in an open-wheel 30s era car. So that was a big bucket list for me.
Oh, that's
So, but for other people, I'm always happy. I've done some consulting work for someone in Georgia and Tennessee doing similar concepts.
perfect.
And I'm happy to share what I've learned. I call it the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's
you
more
go.
good than anything else, but this was also, I was blessed to be not working, so I was here every day during construction, and that helped
Perfect.
quite a bit.
Yes,
Keep it
sir.
on time and on budget,
Yep.
particularly during COVID. We finished in 10 months from the day we broke ground,
Wow. Well, I tell you, before
from the ground up.
that is amazing. Before we say goodbye, I think we got some contact information we can pull up. So kind of walk through how people can get a hold of you guys.
So our website there is listed on Instagram, is just at Vault of Scottsdale for Instagram, Facebook. And always feel free to reach out on my cell phone, 480-625-8119.
Excellent. Well, Ron, we cannot thank you enough. Anytime I'm close by, expect me to be at your door.
Oh,
going,
yeah,
going, "Hi."
absolutely. Come by. We'll go grab some lunch and talk cars.
We can talk cars. Now, should I bring my own drool bucket, or do you have one I can rent?
No, I got one. I'll rent you.
Okay, that'd be cool. Well, thank you so much
Thank
for being.
you for having me. It's a pleasure.
And maybe we'll bump into each other at the prayer breakfast for this year's SEMA. And until then, we'll talk to you later. Thanks again.
All
And
right.
God
Thanks.
bless.
Keep rolling.
Absolutely. Wow. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Emmons, the Vault of Scottsdale, what an amazing property. You got to put that on your your bucket list. Anytime you're in the area, touch base with them. You could probably get a tour. Until you see us next time, do me that favor once again. Hit up social media, YouTube, Facebook, subscribe, tell all your friends, and always enjoy the ride.